Hello, hello. Welcome back to the weekly Monday Motivation Podcast, No More Excuses. I am Sandi Ballard, your host. I am the Badass Business Coach, and I appreciate you listening, sharing, and for connecting with me on all the social media outlets. If you have not yet, do it. All right? Because it's super fun hearing from people all over the world, and obviously, I will connect back with you. So, thank you, and thanks for investing in your badassness, right? Wow. Last week was just kind of a whirlwind. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was cool, little strange things. Thursday, what? And Friday I had an all-day meeting and I walked in and I was like, this happened, and someone's like, Mercury's in retrograde. And I was like, well, that explains it. What the hell? Usually I know these things. However, it was just, it was definitely where I felt it. A lot going on, and my computer calendar wasn't connecting with my phone calendar, and that was the biggest technological thing, but it caused a problem, right? So although Mercury is in retrograde, you can get some things done, but you're supposed to watch what happens and also just kind of go with the flow because things do happen. However, that doesn't always work for me, right? With the computer and the phone syncing issue, it caused me to not call a prospective client. And that doesn't fly with me, right? I realized on Friday morning and I messaged her immediately and apologized. I did not use Mercury retrograde as an excuse. I just fell on my sword. And it was just that week, the whirlwind and that kind of thing. And, people are like, you're probably thinking, well, why didn't you have it written down or just remember? Well, because it was kind of a crazy week in a good way, but there was just a lot of shit happening. And no, I wasn't at my computer when I was supposed to call her. So my phone didn't answer or didn't remind me. And I also didn't look at my written to-do list. That's how it was going, right? So they say things happen for a reason, but I don't know about you, but when I say I'm going to do something, especially to a prospect, let alone any client, I don't know, just to anyone. But when you say you're going to do something, it just drives me batshit crazy when you don't do it. But sometimes life happens, good and bad. In this case, it was good, but required my full attention, and it was a huge, huge distraction. It happens to everyone, right? It's called life. And it happened recently to a client of mine. I texted her right before she was supposed to be there, like 2 minutes, because she's normally a few minutes early. And I said, hey, what's your ETA? And she had forgotten. Now I understand, because her kid was in the hospital. Can't avoid it, right? I understand. But things like this, when it's something that continues to happen, what's going on? What's going on with the person? What's going on in your life? You can only blame your kids at Mercury retrograde so many times, right? Well, and on the topic of last week, in the podcast, talking about being the ripple effector, how you step out, dip your toe in the water, and see those ripples happening. How can you empower others, right? And you're like, how are these connecting? But stay with me. So I want to reflect on last week. No pun intended with the water thing there. Did you realize how much of a ripple effector you've been? Or you can be? When and how did you stick your toe in the water? And what effect did you have on other people? How has your ripple effect empowered others? So the thing is we need to make sure that these ripples are affecting other people positively. For example, if I missed calls and meetings and emails constantly and just blamed Mercury retrograde for the amount of time it was in, what message am I sending out? What ripples am I putting out into the world? I'm definitely not empowering, nor am I building a positive image. So when the client who missed the meeting, well, that happened 3 more times. I would text her, or she would text me 15 minutes, 10 minutes, or right at time of being in the meeting, and also she's part of a group that I have. How is that sending those negative ripples, those negative vibes to the others and to me? She and I did talk by phone, and I could tell in her voice she was scattered. She apologized. But the issue is she's not valuing my time, not valuing other people's that are in the group's time, as well as her own. She's not managing her shit show. And trust me, it sounds like her flying monkeys are on the loose. I said, it's time. I told her, I'm like, it's time to get off the what? If you've been listening to me for a while, you know what I'm about to say. Yes, the crazy train. I said, look, my hand is out. I'm pulling you off the crazy train. It's time to stop and take a breath. Her crazy train's about to crash. And I was just like, you got to do this. You got to come in. But instead of her figuring it out, because we talked about the following week's schedule, and it was like conflict, she said, I'll call you. She was like, I'll call you when I get my life in order. Well, what in the blankety blank? What the fuck is a coach for, right? So, I said that a little nicer. It goes back to what my mentor told me years ago. Sandi, you can't want it more than them, and you can't help them all. Now, trust me, I'm not giving up on her. I'm going to text her this morning and say, look, here's a couple more options. But the negative ripple effect that she's putting out to others, the negativity, I guess, has the ripple effect that, what are people thinking about? What am I thinking? What is the other people in the group? I mean, how is it affecting other people? I mean, I have no idea. I know how it's affecting us, but how's it affecting her clients, her family, when she's in this type of spin? Your reputation precedes you. Your reputation is your brand. This week, think about a time when your shit's gone sideways, good or bad. But how did it affect it? Because like I said, last week was really crazy cool stuff, exciting opportunities, but it had a negative impact because it totally distracted me. I allowed it to distract me. So think about when your shit's gone sideways, good or bad, and how did you handle it? How did you get your monkeys who were on the loose? How did you get them back from flying out the door and recover? Or did you allow that negativity to have a ripple effect that drowned your work, that drowned your reputation? Look forward to hearing from you. Again, good and bad, love to hear from you. Have a great week. Cheers.